ridden with factions between your group, which is the moderates, and the more kind of extreme right-wing faction. What's your party's view on this? What's your party take? You want to send it off to committees. So what are you going to do about it? It just shows how ridden your party is.
Just a quick answer.
Just a quick answer, because I don't want to dominate the panel. That would be most unfair.
No, but it'd be good to hear your answer.
I'm not the leader of any particular faction in the Liberal Party, and we're a very porous party. We sort of move around on issues. In terms of the same-sex entitlement superannuation bill, the opposition, or the coalition, is in favour of supporting that bill. We believe that it's right in principle and that it's overdue. We have, however, because it came in very late, the Attorney General could have introduced this bill 2 or 3 months ago. They chose to introduce it about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's a big change, and when the big change happens like that, whether it's GST or whether it's work choices, they always go to a committee. We've asked it to go to a committee so that we can make sure that the definitions in the bill match what the government said they would. But our position, as an opposition, it's not split. Our position is to support the bill in principle and have a quite legitimate short committee process to ensure that it doesn't do anything that wasn't planned by the government or the opposition.
It doesn't take 3 weeks to read definitions.
Well, I'm not in the Senate. I mean, I'm not hallowed enough to
very, very quick response from the government here.
Chris, if you support it, vote for it.
Well, we did.
Quite simple.
Yeah. We supported it in the lower house, and we did. We voted for it in the lower house.
Don't delay it. If you want to look at what if you want to have a committee inquiry, you could do it later. Just pass it. There are people. We've been waiting a long time for this. People shouldn't have to wait any more. No. Just vote for it.
We voted for it in the lower house. We passed it through into the Senate, as you well know. So we have supported the bill.
Vote for it in the Senate.
It's a misnomer.
Vote for it in the Senate where we need your votes. We don't need your votes in the lower house. We need them in the Senate. Pass it.
Well, you should have introduced it 3 months ago rather than a couple of weeks ago trying to rush it through at the last minute. That's the truth.
Well, you could have...
40 bills they've introduced in the last 2 weeks.
You could have introduced it sometime in the last 12 years.
No, we never did that.
You could have introduced it sometime in the last 12 years.
We never did that.
I think the last thing you said was we never did that.
We never introduced 40 bills in 2 weeks.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to move on.
40 bills in 2 weeks.
We're going to move on. You're watching QandA with the Shadow Justice Minister, Christopher Pyne, a man who pledges his AFL allegiance to the mighty Redlegs. Former leader of the Democrats and now an advocate for social entrepreneurship, Cheryl Kernot. Rock Whiz host, Julia Zemiro. Assistant Treasurer Chris Bowen, who, according to his MySpace profile, is a fan of whitewater rafting. And staunch monarchist and young Liberal Nick Adams. Next week, we'll have a completely new panel. So don't sit on the couch, come and ask the questions yourself. You can be part of the audience in our Sydney studios by registering at abc.net.au/Q&A, like all of these people here. abc.net.au/Q&A. Let's go now to a video question to show we don't only take questions from inside the audience here, we take questions from all over the country if we get them. This one uploaded onto our website by Jock Munro from Rankin Springs in New South Wales.
Good evening. I'm a wheat grower from southern New South Wales. My name is Jock Munro. I have a question for the panel. If work choices was evil because it weakened the collective bargaining power of Australian working families, why does the Rudd government want to destroy the wheat export single desk, the collective bargaining system of working wheat grower families? Thank you.
OK, well, I'm going to go straight to the government on this one because I want to hear what your answer is to that question directly.
Tony, wheat growers should be allowed to sell wheat to who they want to. They shouldn't be forced to sell it to one organisation, AWB. It's pretty simple. We believe that if you're a wheat grower, you should be able to choose who you sell your wheat to. The National Party thinks you should be forced to sell your wheat to one particular organisation and have no choice about it. The Liberal Party agrees with us that you should be able to sell it to whoever you want. We should have a free market in operation.
Have you taken away, as he put it, their collective bargaining power by doing that and put them at risk in any way?
No, I don't think so. I think what it's about is saying AWB has not been working. It's pretty clear. There's been a few problems. There's been issues.
Was that the farmers' fault?
And no, of course it wasn't the farmers' fault, but the system wasn't working. And you now have a system where wheat farmers can go to exporters and say, who's going to sell us, who's going to buy the wheat off us for the best price? And that's a pretty fundamental and fair system.
Cheryl Kernot.
Well, I was just thinking that it's a funny thing that elsewhere in the world, having gone down all this individualism road, collectivism employee ownership, cooperatives are all coming back, and people are looking to those as a way forward to empower communities and groups. And in this country, we're still stripping away, I think, collective rights. I agree. I think that farmer has a point. I think you can make, points about choices all the time, but if they don't want that choice, is that something that you have to say they should have?
Christopher Pyne, would we even be in this situation if AWB hadn't corruptly dealt with Saddam Hussein?
Well, there's a strong possibility we would, yes, because the whole of the orientation about markets is moving towards farmers being able to deal independently with the people they're selling their wheat to, and this is a principle of I think, well, Labor supports this principle and so does the Liberal Party. We believe the market is the best place to find the right price for products, and the National Party has a different view, and well, how would you price oil differently, Cheryl? What mechanism would you introduce?
I would have had alternatives coming up for competition.
A set price.
All right, we've gone off the subject.
Yeah, slightly.
Sorry.
But, we do support what Labor is doing on the single desk, and we think the market should be allowed to operate, and it will be the best for farmers in the long term, and even in the short term, quite frankly.
All right, I'm going to move on. Next question comes from Rebecca Pinkstone in the audience.
With rising interest rates, the Murray River dying and babies starving to death, the Senate is holding an inquiry into a foul-mouthed celebrity chef. Is this the best that the Senate can do?
That's a very good question. I think we'll throw that first to Julia Zemiro.
Yeah.
Conflict of interest.
I think, I think it's all about entertainment and reality TV. I mean, yeah, it's weird. Gordon Ramsay doesn't care. We don't care. Back to that thing, this idea of the babies issue as well. It's back to that community idea as well, that no one noticed, no one asked, no one knew what was going on. We don't particularly, we're a bit insular. We don't talk to the people next door. But yeah, I don't think we need Gordon Ramsay talked about in the Senate.
I should say, just picking up on the spirit of the question, I should say we've been getting an awful lot of questions about Parliament and its failings, about the behaviour of politicians, about the staged fraudulence of question time, with its Dorothy Dixes and stunts.
Now, if you want to do theatre, do theatre.
That's right.
Do stand-up, because there's some great venues around town.
I do it all the time.
Really, if you want to act, become an actor. Just don't do it in the Senate.
Cheryl Kernot, you've been watching the Parliament?
I have to admit it.
Did it get any better since you've been away?
Do you know, the most depressingly scary thing is that the sides have changed, the faces have changed, and the words are coming out exactly the same, but the different side. And I've lived long enough to see it, and I think question time in its current format has completely outlived its usefulness. And I would like to see us do something else, something about it. We could have question time like this. Sadly, accountability, having the opportunity to ask the questions, that's important, and scrutiny is important. But how can you say that scrutiny happens when people stand up with a question they haven't written themselves, can't often read with, succinctness and feeling, and then somebody has a 5-minute rant? If we're going to have question time, we should have the Senate rules, which is a minute to ask the question and 5 minutes to answer it, and no more. And it'd be good to have some supplementary questions in the House of Reps. I'd love to see ministers answer supplementary questions. At least that's a start.
And everyone should stand, because if everyone stands, they talk less. If everyone's comfortable, it's true. It's a thing of they know they've got a captive audience and they keep going. Everyone's asleep.
We should have SMSs, shouldn't we? SMSs and new videos straight to the speaker.
All right, now this has got our audience interested. We're going to go to the front row here first, to the gentleman with his hand up in the dark sweater.
I'm just so pleased to see Cheryl back here in Australia. Welcome back. I just wondered if you can share with us what your future is. Are you coming back into Parliament, or have you got some other exciting things to do? But welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
I don't know what it is.
I'm sorry, I'm going to take that as a comment, because that's a little bit off the subject.
Thank you.
And we actually have an SMS question that's just come in from Mooloolaba in Queensland. Cheryl, would you consider returning to the Democrats or another third party to keep the bastards honest and create a true multi-party system? Well, it looks like we're going to have to answer that question anyway.
I'd love us to have a true multi-party system with a third party in the House of Reps, not just in the Senate.
But the National